Looking back on it now, I remember several calls that probably did have a substantial effect on me, but at the time, I didn't realize it, and I certainly didn't show it.
If somebody was to say, boy, that call really affected me, then, we would razz them. It's one of those things that just gets passed on from generation to generation, and it's not always a good thing.
May 31st of 2011, a little after 8 o'clock in the morning, we received a response for a residential structure fire. And my assignment on the truck that day was to go to the roof and cut a ventilation hole.
The roof was pristine. There was no obvious signs of any weakness.
As I bent down to make my ventilation cut, there was a failure of the rafter system.
My rescue firefighter was yelling through his mask, at which point I turned around and Jeff was gone.
I fell approximately 18 feet and landed on my back on the garage floor. I could feel myself beginning to burn. I never stopped fighting to try to get out of the situation I was in, but I truly didn't think that I was going to come out of that alive.
We finally got to the front of the garage. The crew's obviously pulling him out. Looks like he's gone. And, in the fire service, we're a family, and I considered Jeff my brother. And I just remember thinking that this is not supposed to happen on my watch.
I received second-degree burns over about 10% of my body surface. As far as burn injuries go, they weren't really very significant at the time.
I knew he was going to make it, but still, I felt that he was in there because of my action.
When I went back to work, I did have a lot of things that brought up what they call triggers. I would open a compartment on the truck and they'd had a fire the night before, and that certain smell of smoke would hit me and it would kind of take me back. When I got calls, there was a physical response to it where I would kind of feel nauseated. I would have a hard time breathing or feel tight-chested and a little short of breath. I became very tense and very angry about a lot of things. The obvious work-related symptoms diminished. So it took me a long time to connect the dots and figure out that those changes that were happening with me were actually because of what had happened to me earlier.
I found myself just pacing back and forth and just over and over, just analyzing every aspect of that call. It's killing me inside to think that he's hurt and it's something that I did. I put on a face and just continued to tell myself, you're gonna get that confidence back. And I did get to the point where my confidence was back. But there was always that little seed that was planted, and it affected me, and it's to this day still affects me.
Families are always the first to notice. They live with you, they know how you were before, and they know what you've become.
My wife at one point pulled me aside and said, listen, I know that you're hurting, but it's affecting the family, and it's not fair to us that you are treating us like this.
In the fire service, it's absolutely imperative that you don't show weakness. I went above and beyond to try to show that everything was okay.
I had always been what I like to think, the fireman's fireman, just aggressive and just get in there and get the job done.
I reached a point in dealing with this, feeling like I wasn't going to get through another day without losing my mind, and I had a pretty significant post-traumatic stress injury. That's what ultimately led me to going for professional help.
A battalion chief that I respect highly, and he said, you need to leave your baggage at the door. Have you ever talked to Jeff? I mean really talked to Jeff, how that has affected him. So I took an opportunity to reach out to Jeff And the thing that I always will remember Jeff saying, I never knew. I never knew you were going through this. I thought I was the only one.
Probably one of the biggest things that helped me in my recovery and helped me to start moving down the path to recovering is finding out that I wasn't the only one that had this going on with me.
And I think that's where we really need to start doing, is knocking down that stigma that we can't talk about these incidents that bother us. And once we understand that, we can change the fire service and we can make it a healthier place.
The firefighters of this state go out and put themselves on the line on a daily basis to help rescue others. And there's going to be times where we need a little rescuing ourselves.